Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Modern Warzone Weekly Podcast. I am Grandmaster Goj, one of your hosts today. I've got Doug Dag Nabbit, otherwise known as Modern Warzone himself, here with me as well. And then we've got a guest today, Tony, TrueGameData. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Just got done playing some Warzone with friends. Pretty fun. Pre-update Warzone.
Sure.
He's got his PC set up in the mountains out there.
Yeah. I really like nature, so I just go for the open air setup.
Love it. I love it. Well, yeah, if you're seeing this video either live on Twitch right now at Modern Warzone Live or on YouTube or wherever we decide to post these things, you can definitely see that background. But today we are talking about a couple different things. Number one, we're talking about the anti-cheat that's been hinted at, rumored at, talked about. It's for sure happening. We'll talk about it. We're also going to talk about the Vanguard leak / information that has been dished out on the timeline recently. It's quite interesting. And then, of course, Season 5 patch notes are now live, which we'll be looking at as well with Tony and talking about the new season that's coming to Warzone. So, Doug, we got to start with anti-cheat. We got to start with what you think, what's happening. Give us the rundown for everybody that's maybe not as tuned into Twitter as you are.
Yeah, I mean, I basically spend my entire life on my phone. So, anyways, Raven Software kind of hinted at they've been listening to the community and they've been working on stuff in the background. And they're obviously hinting about an anti-cheat, because if they're not, well, then they're very tone deaf. Number two, right around the same time as them, you saw multiple leakers come out and say, confirmed, anti-cheat is coming. And of course, they got a little excited and said today it would be happening with the update. But it actually is supposed to be coming with the integration of Vanguard. And if you keep up with the Modern Warzone Twitter, some of the things we've been saying recently is how the new Call of Duty game is going to be running on the IW8 engine, which is the same engine as Modern Warfare and Warzone are currently on. But what they're going to do is what every gaming company does. They're going to tweak it. They're going to update it. They're going to make it a little bit better. And with that, they also were able to work on an anti-cheat from the ground up with their new and improved engine. And if you go check out our Twitter, we have actually posted a guy's LinkedIn profile all the way back from in July, talking about how the anti-cheat is revolving around machine learning and this, that, and the other. So really what it comes down to is we're just waiting on it to actually be announced. It definitely is happening. I can tell you firsthand, it definitely is happening. I've been talking to people as much as I can. It's happening. There's no reason to have to quell your hype about it. They know, and we talked about, if you didn't listen to last week's podcast with Maverick GG, you definitely should, because we basically predicted all of this. It's absolutely nuts. I was talking to Goj before we started. We predicted all this. We didn't really say that it was coming right now, but it just is a crazy coincidence. And I wonder, from somebody's perspective, such as Tony, who basically, lives, breathes, and eats Call of Duty content, how do you think an anti-cheat affects your type of content moving forward? Are you happy?
I mean, as a player, more than anything, I'm super happy. This game's been difficult to play for a long time because of the cheater situation, and recently it's gotten just absolutely horrible. I mean, seems like the last, I don't know, 2 months or so, it's been like every single game there's a cheater. As far as content, I don't make any content about cheaters, so I'm excited to see an anti-cheat, because it'll make the game popular and bring people back that quit because of the cheaters. They left Apex and left for Apex and other BRs and things like that. So it'll be great for my content, for people to come back to Warzone and want to play again, because that's a huge deterrent for people. Is it just feels pointless when you play for dance. It's like, I'm gonna loot up for 15 minutes and then get killed by a cheater. Like, what's the point?
I think it also kind of led to the migration to Rebirth Island, and then Rebirth Island itself started getting infested with cheaters as well. I mean, If you guys don't know, Tony is not just a stat guy. He actually is really fucking good at Warzone.
Well, let's take a second here and then just introduce our guest fully. I mean, Tony, you want to tell us exactly kind of what you do, your website you've been working on? I think you'll have a chance to talk more about this later, but I wanted to go ahead and tell all the viewers and people listening at home on their drives to work maybe about like who you are and why we'll talk about why you're on the podcast.
All right, so my name's Anthony. Obviously, I started TrueGameData.com. It was originally called COD Gun Data about a year and 3 months ago now. It was like May of last year.
It's a great name change.
Yes, thank you. It was multiple reasons, but the obvious one was being able to go into different games. But basically, I was obsessed with Warzone myself, and I was watching all of Exclusive Ace's videos and all of JGod's videos and Drifter's videos and trying to figure out what the best weapons were in the game. And there was just no resource out there that did what I wanted to do. And time I didn't have a job and I knew that I had the tools to do it. So I just built a website that basically shows all the time to kill charts and all the stats for everything. And it took us just a few days to get the first version of the site out. But obviously there's been tons and tons of development since then. But yeah, I was obsessed with the game, loved the game, wanted the tools myself. I was an engineer, so I knew how to do some programming. I knew how to do web development and just decided to do it myself.
That's awesome. So basically you have a website that tracks all of the data for all the weapons in the game.
Exactly, yeah, and all the attachments and how they modify it, and yeah, lots of things. Some things don't even like stack linearly, so you can't just add them up. And there's like some weird math that goes on behind the scenes that we've had to figure out, and it's been crazy. It's been a wild year.
That website is TrueGameData.com for anybody who's listening. If you ever have a question about what guns you should be using or what attachments you should be using with your favorite gun, definitely go check out his website, put in the info. You can figure it out right there. It also has a bunch of helpful and useful charts comparing guns to each other. It's actually an incredibly useful tool that I do not use enough because I spend my entire life on my phone.
Well, yeah, and I appreciate you sharing all that because I think everything that we'll be talking about is pertinent to you and what your content is, because your content is this game, and so the health of this game is super important, right? And so when we're talking about something like an anti-cheat, which is something that everybody and their mother's dog has been wanting for Warzone, this is a huge hopeful sigh of relief. This is something that's coming with Vanguard. Hopefully it's something that's going to change the way the game's played. It could potentially out maybe a few people in the community, probably not big people, but people in the community that are cheating. I mean, this is a massive step towards maybe a fun playing experience for most people that are trying to play Warzone, and could certainly revitalize some of the slow drag and slow fall off we've seen of viewers and players in the game category on Twitch. But at the same time, Doug and I have mentioned this many a times on this podcast, Warzone is not dead or necessarily even dying. It's just seeing at least people moving away from it to try some other things. And as soon as new content comes around, a lot of people are going to be running right back to Warzone, especially in the BR category, because there's really no real competition with Warzone and BR. Apex being the main one, but even then, it's really still not a real comparison in the behemoth that Warzone is. So continuing to bring back a lot of health is good for a lot of people, and I think it will challenge a lot of other BRs to step up their game as well. So excited about that and hopeful for it and ready for some more information for sure.
It's honestly amazing that Warzone has held the audience it has with the small amount of content and map updates we've had, while still dealing with the cheater problem.
I honestly think it's a great game, and that's why people get so frustrated that it's not living up to its full potential because of things like an anti-cheat missing and content missing and things like that. It's just, there's been no other big BR to come out really since Warzone came out. We had Apex before Warzone, and now some people have gone back to Apex. But if Warzone, like you were just saying, if Warzone gets an anti-cheat, they're going to come right back to Warzone for sure.
Right. I totally agree, and I think especially as they drop content updates too. It's been funny, Doug. I think you commented on this at some point on one of your tweets or something like that. It was like the people complaining about anti-cheats when anti-cheat has been like rumored or like leaked, or they're like, well, that's not going to fix the game. The game really needs content. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of been a funny little back and forth of people just wanting something to complain about. But I think the anti-cheat coming with new content as well is going to bring back just hordes of people.
It's going to be amazing. And I actually tweeted that on my personal because I knew that it would just get destroyed on the ModernWarzone Twitter. But it's true. I mean, and people took it as if I was saying that you can't want new content. But no, what I was saying is that as soon as you hear about anti-cheat, everybody is in my replies on ModernWarzone saying, nobody cares. We need more content. Everybody cares, you dipshits. Everybody's excited, and there is no reason not to be excited. Now, I understand the demographic that plays on console, mainly PlayStation, that can turn off crossplay, does not have to worry so much about hackers. But for any content creator you watch, anybody that you look up to in the COD scene, this is the best news they have heard since the original announcement of Warzone.
I got really frustrated when they first tweeted, a couple days ago or a day ago, whenever it was. They tweeted they banned 50,000 accounts, and then they tweeted things like that before. Then the next line was, More importantly, we're listening and are hard at work behind the scenes. We'll have more info for you soon. So that's, implying that there was an anti-cheat coming. And people are just ripping them in the comments. I'm like, what? We can't change the fact that there hasn't been an anti-cheat until now. That's sucks. It should have been there a long time ago, obviously. We can only look forward, though. And if they're going to add an anti-cheat now, that's awesome. Like, this is only good news. There's no reason to get angry that they haven't done it in the past just because it took a long time. Like, now they're trying to do it, and we might actually see something come through soon. That would be amazing.
I fully agree. Go ahead.
And that's what we talked about. That's what we talked about last episode too with Maverick, was like, hey, look, you all, the general public, don't understand. I mean, even I don't understand fully exactly how anti-cheats work, what works, what doesn't work. And what Maverick was essentially pitching was like, look, if we get an anti-cheat, it's not going to come until there's a new game out. It's not going to come till Vanguard, and if it is going to come, that's when it's going to come, because of the way those anti-cheats are kind of worked into the actual system or the code of the game, right? You can't just say, I mean, you can throw a little third-party anti-cheat on there, but that's not going to fix anything with the way Warzone cheats are working, apparently, or something like that. I don't know. I'm not the tech guy around here. Maverick was telling us all the stuff about the anti-cheat, but when it's coming here with Vanguard, it makes so much more sense. And you almost had to expect that going forward through Warzone's, life, was like, hey, if this is going to be built into the game, it needs to be built in from, in the game at the very beginning, like Valorant or something like that, which is why it's exciting to see them working so hard on Vanguard.
And I definitely agree.
I expected it to come with like Warzone 2.0 or whatever that would be, whatever it's going to be called, when they actually have like an updated engine. That's when I would have expected it to be implemented.
Some of the takes on the internet have been absolutely insane. I mean, I've seen people saying that they're trying to kill their own game because they can't handle it anymore, and this, that, and the other, and that is absolutely not the case. And I fully agree with what Tony is saying, is that we have, as a community, as the gaming community, and as people whose voices matter, we have to understand that you cannot change the past. You can hold Raven Software and anybody else, especially not Raven. They didn't even announce that Raven was the main people working on Warzone until Cold War integration. So let's not just go point fingers and flick people off when we're getting the answers that we want to hear. Okay, we can hold them accountable and write a story about it later, but when they give you good news, respond to that good news with positivity, and maybe, just maybe, they'll start being more transparent with their communications.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. I think that's kind of the mentality that some of us have that are maybe a little bit more informed, but at the same time, like, it's the same concept we've always talked about with social media. It's like you hear something from one person and you take that as fact, and then you just repeat that on the internet, and that's how social media works. So it's really difficult to kind of inform the public, which is what we try to do with this podcast. So excited to continue to talk about these things, but let's go ahead and move on to our next topic of the day, Doug, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave this one up to you guys. Do you guys want to go into the Season 5 patch notes next, or do you want to start talking about Vanguard? Because that's basically going to be me blabbering and you guys giving opinions.
It doesn't matter to me, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, let's go ahead. I mean, I think there's a lot of people paying attention to patch notes right now. So let's go ahead and talk about the patch notes and kind of run through what's going on right now. And then we can kind of finish up with, hey, well, this is what the future of Call of Duty is going to look like. And we'll run through all of that as well.
All right, perfect.
Because there's a lot.
Yeah, the Season 5 patch notes were just released by Raven Software, and some of the most notable things it includes is the 2 new perks that they talked about. I'm forgetting that, I think it was Tempered or something. Tempered's the armor one that only makes it to where you need 2 plates of armor to fully reheal, and you only have 2 bars, so 75 health for each armor slot. And the other one is Combat Scout, which most people were speculating was going to be a slot 2 perk to go with Overkill, Ghost, and everything. And they actually have put it in slot 3. We talked about this on last week's podcast as well. It seemed to us more like a tracker type perk, so slot 3 makes the most sense. But the thing is now is that the Ghost issue has not been addressed. I really don't know how the entirety of the community feels about Ghost and the fact that people can run it. But on top of that, moving into Season 5, this is moving a bit away from the patch notes because they don't talk about it much. But we are getting dual-wielded akimbo pistol shotguns with Dragon Breath fire rounds. So you can pick up your first loadout.
Go wrong with that.
Yeah, you can pick up your first loadout now. Listen, you can pick up the first loadout. You can use Cold-Blooded, which we're going to get into. Now counters the new perk. You can also use Overkill or Ghost. You can use Ghost on your first one, and then you can also have Combat Scout. So what's the point of even getting a second loadout now, boys?
I mean, obviously, we'll have to wait and see how how these shotguns play out. If they can only kill people out to 6.5 meters, then you're still gonna want your second loadout. But yeah, it sounds nasty before we actually know the numbers on it.
I've seen a lot of people reply and say that it's supposed to be a one-shot pistol type thing. Like you have to reload it after one bullet. Apparently that's how it worked in a different Call of Duty game with the same type of pistol. So maybe that'll balance it out more.
Yeah.
But I don't agree with that because you could see it's a double barrel shotgun.
I don't know. And we'll see what happens with it. It's going to be a weird one for sure. I mean, just like any other shotgun that's introduced into this game, it's usually broken and then they usually fix it. I mean, that's just kind of how it works around these parts. Or it starts out just garbage. So you got it's kind of one extreme or the other. There's really no like, this is somewhat usable shotgun. I mean, Origin 12, Street Sweeper. I mean, come on. Like
that's the thing I don't like about shotguns is they're like virtually impossible to balance with SMGs. And I just don't even, to be honest, I don't even want them in the game because it's like they're just so hard to balance. Exactly what you said. They're either too good or they're not good enough. And it's just a mess. I just can't even imagine trying to balance that as a game developer.
I agree.
Yeah,
keep going, good.
No, it's just like really difficult to do. I think the only way you could try to balance them is limit mag size, right? And so you go for like hey, this is a viable option in something like solos or maybe duos, but anything past that, you're going to be completely out of luck if you're fighting multiple enemies, and that'd be the only way you could try to balance it. But then you're still going to get a lot of complaints, especially. I mean, it's always G8 in private match tourneys anyways already. Like from the competitive side, like I bring a lot of the competitive mindset, like shotguns are most often just G8 period. So yeah.
I think the thing that really stands out about it is that correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, or anybody listening, or Tony, you or Ghosh, has a Black Ops Cold War shotgun or anything ever had fire rounds?
No, not yet.
So they're just random at the end of the game's life cycle. They're like, fuck it. Let's just make them fire, baby. Let's just make them fire. That was just the part that really stuck out to me. Like, I knew they were going to be akimbo, and I knew they'd be strong. First of all, a lot of people have responded and said there's no guarantee that these are going to be strong. Let me go ahead and tell you how Call of Duty works, okay? They like to advertise their new weapons and make them some of the strongest in the game to increase sales on their battle pass, and I'm not knocking them for it. But on top of that, they had an entire blog post about the shotguns being added and about them having fire and about them being in their own specific bundle. Now, the folks at home, I don't know if y'all know this, but anytime that they advertise a bundle, it's fucking OP.
I think there's one exception. The one exception was the original Krieg release with the Ice Drake. Krieg was not that good when it first came out.
That is a good point. But
that's the only one.
They've been constantly like buffing. I mean, it just finally got a nerf, which I didn't think it needed, but they had to do a lot of work on it to make it meta. I mean, you can clearly tell the guns with the best skins are typically meta, y'all.
Yeah, it's weird how the reactive guns always end up meta, isn't it?
Yeah, FFAR. That's so funny.
FFAR, Cold War AK, Milano, all these got these reactive skins, and all of a sudden they were the best.
Yeah, they did. The
it's Milano like these guys know how to run a business or something.
The Milano was the worst gun in the game, and they're like, reactive camo, buff it. Everybody's like, Milano AR meta, okay. Yeah. It's so funny. Oh man, you can't blame them. You can't blame them. Trying to make a bag, I guess. $1 billion company.
People get so mad about that stuff. I'm like, this company exists to make money. Of course they're gonna do things like that. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's the classic like free to play game, environments. Like you always drop like really cool skins because you're trying to get people to buy cosmetics. I mean, think back to Fortnite even. Like if you just want to completely negate everything that's happening in Warzone, let's think of Fortnite. Fortnite's a free to play game. They don't make any money for you downloading it, and then they release skins, and it ends up being, instead of you paying $50 and getting everything and unlocking it through the game, it's all microtransactions, and these kids will grab their mom's credit cards and spend $300 on dances. You know what I mean? Like it's the same concept. It's just in a different game. That's maybe.
Yeah, I would take some cool dances in Warzone. I'm just saying.
Look, me too, dude. I would too. Works. I'd buy them.
There's a reason. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like, hey, I'm smoking a cigar on the person I just assassinated. Got him. Like
one of my longest term mods in my stream, Ruthless. We queued into the same match tonight. And I killed him out of the air. If I had a dance, man, I'm landing and dancing
on his face, on his deceased skull.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. That's the way these businesses work. So you got to give them a little bit of credit for that. But all right, let's continue to walk through some of these patch notes. So we've got some new weapons. If I can skip down to that, and then we can kind of head back to the other things. This is what a lot of people are interested in. This is certainly what TrueGameData, Tony, you kind of do for your living, for your website. EM2 release assault rifle, full auto assault rifle. We kind of read through these, I believe, last episode, Doug, if I'm not mistaken.
We did.
Of what's going to be added. So we already know what this does. They added a little bit more clarity on that. If you want to read through that in the patch notes yourself, you can. EM2 is being added. We talked about that. The Tech 9, which is a submachine gun's being added. The Cane melee weapon, I guess that's a weapon. It's a literal walking stick. So it's lethal, though, where fashion meets function.
Gotta swing hard enough.
Yeah, if you swing anything hard enough, it could be a lethal weapon. And then the Marshall, which we've been mentioning a lot of. So, and then a few weapon challenges and things like that, and a few attachments, it looks like, changes here. This is kind of pertinent to what you do, Tony.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at these yet, to be completely honest. So
let me bring up one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to bring up that in the promotional art for Season 5, the cover art shows the new hacker operator, Kitsune, or whoever she is, holding dual-wielded Tech 9s, okay? Now, the thing about this is we talked about this before as well, is that the Tech 9 in most video games, Counter-Strike, any other, is considered a handgun. Call of Duty has gone with making it an SMG that has unique attachments in the muzzle that allow it to be close range or more long range centered. But the thing about it is they haven't mentioned yet whether or not this is going to be the first akimbo SMG.
Wait, Call of Duty hopes.
Wild.
Call of Duty hopes saying they said it's not dual wield.
It's not. They said it's not. Well, okay. Well, I guess they just used that for art, but that's fair enough. At least they came out and said it.
It was just marketing, says Maverick. Nice. You got people all over it.
Modern Warfare 1, Modern Warfare 2, where you could akimbo like any SMG.
Ooh.
I don't remember which one it was.
I think
I used to run around with akimbo P90s and just fry people.
Oh no, it was 3. I think Modern Warfare 3 was the one that allowed you to akimbo SMGs.
Okay.
Right.
Those were the days.
They all kind of get mixed together for me. But the real one that I always personally have a problem with when it comes to these patch notes and updates, I don't care about a melee weapon being added, and I damn sure don't think you should qualify it as a new weapon. They all function the same.
They do slightly different damage. They have slightly different range, Doug. They're unique.
Yeah. You look at the website, Doug. When was the last time you looked at the website?
There's no melee weapons on the website. Don't oversell me here.
The question still stands because the Cali sticks are the best melee weapon. We all know it. There's different damage profiles.
Yeah,
come on.
That's true.
Lock it in, Doug. Lock it in.
And you know damn well if you're really trying to be efficient with melee weapons, you're still running the Cali sticks.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah, we said cold-blooded, undetectable by AR targeting systems, aka I'm assuming that means Sentry guns, as well as thermal optic, does not trigger high alert warnings anymore, which is the new change, and negates combat scout, which is the new slot 3 perk, which is when damaging an enemy briefly highlights them and automatically pings them, which is interesting. And then slot 2 tempered armor plates are reinforced now, 0.75 damage rather than 50. We talked about that. I mean, you only need 2 plates to like fully armor you up, which is, I mean, that's certainly a boon. Do you run that over Ghost or Overkill off the rip? I doubt it. It kind of depends on the game you're playing, but who knows? Maybe somebody can get some sort of interesting playstyle with it. I mean, you're gonna save resources. That's good.
It's a good chance to ask Tony. What do you think? Like Tony is not. We've talked about it. We think that perk will be specifically for high kill games. People just pushing for content. Do you see yourself ever using that perk?
I can see messing around with it for sure, especially on Rebirth, where there's just people everywhere all the time. And one of the big things about it is obviously you can plate like, I don't know, in like 70% of the time it would have taken before, roughly. So it's like you can get full plate much quicker. You can get 1 plate in that does an extra 25 health. Something else it does, I actually made a video about this perk since we knew what it was ahead of time, but something else, it adds this new, I've talked about this a bunch before, but there's like 100 health, 150 health, 200 health, 250 health. Those are very common values in Warzone because of the way the plate system works. If you put 1 plate in, it doesn't replace one that's fully broken. It only replaces the one that's partially broken. So you end up with one of those health values all the time. So that leads to these TTKs that can be different at different health values for different guns. And we are going to have this new health value that's present in Warzone a lot, and that's going to be 175 health. So there's going to be some new, we're going to have to add that to the website, obviously, so you can calculate those TTKs specifically. But it just leads to some unique situations that we didn't have before where certain guns might be better than other guns.
That's so interesting. That didn't even cross my mind. See, this is why we have you around. This is good information, because you're right. It's going to be totally different when you're fighting an enemy with one shield. You're fighting what, 175?
Yep, 175. So that'll have unique TTKs that are going to be different. There's certain situations where you could kill somebody faster at 250 health with a certain gun, and then if you had 200 health, maybe that gun's a little bit slower than the other gun, actually, just because of the way the health values work out and the time to kills work out. So there will be some situations where a gun will actually be better at 175 health, but be worse at other values and things like that. So it adds a level of complexity to everything as far as TTKs are concerned.
Interesting.
Speaking of complexities, this just reminded me of, so anybody who's here should know who TrueGameData is, Anthony. You discovered one of the biggest discrepancies I have ever seen in a video game, and I remember I was absolutely heated when you tweeted about it, that private matches had different weapon statistics than public lobbies. Is that still the case? Do you know?
So that came out, that was a long
time ago. It's been a while,
ago,
yeah.
Yeah, it's probably like 6 months ago, 8 months ago. So what we did was we did this huge community test where I set up instructions for everybody in my community to join up on me into a private lobby, and we tested the damage profile of literally every weapon in the game. And we found some really weird things when we were doing that, where some health values were different at different ranges, and it wasn't that people were not testing correctly, because it was super straightforward, and I went in and checked everything myself. And I think that was that there's these certain hitboxes that we don't know about for sure, and we didn't know about at the time. Like now we know there's upper arm, lower arm like hitboxes. There's upper leg, lower leg hitboxes. There's neck hitboxes, and we didn't know about that at the time. We thought it was just extremities, stomach, chest, head. We still haven't looked into that. I still haven't tested all that, because it's just an absolute, obviously, insane amount of work to get every single shot location and try to figure out, because they don't tell you what these hitboxes are. So we would have to literally go in and manually try to figure out what they were ourselves. And now we're aware of those, but we haven't tested it yet. So I think probably when we found those weird values in private matches, that's what it was. We were hitting those different hitboxes that we didn't know about, because people didn't know exactly where to shoot their target when they were testing. Just roughly below the stomach, or above the stomach. And if there were slightly different hitboxes that we didn't know about at the time, it could have led to those few damage different profiles that we found.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that being the cause. I just thought that it maybe would be where they pre-launched their weapons for the testers to try them out and stuff, and that they never updated them.
That's what we assumed at the time, is that it was maybe like private matches were like a patch ahead or something, and then they were using it almost as like a test environment. And basically, we assumed they kind of copy pasted their test environment for these private lobbies, because obviously they have to have something to test this stuff before they launch it. So we kind of thought maybe that's what was going on, but I really do think it probably was just hitboxes that we just didn't know about at the time.
Okay, well, that's good, because I was going to bring up if that was a concern, because we can see the competitive scenes moving towards private custom lobbies. But
yes, that was a big concern, definitely.
I guess, Goj, you can move us on to, we're going to talk about the attachment changes. There's not many.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say the new title of this episode, by the way, is I didn't even think about that. A Time with Tony. I just thought of that. Okay, so that's the episode title. We've already decided. Okay, attachment changes. It looks like it's all for the AMP63. Am I reading that correctly? Yeah. AMP63 Black Ops Cold War. 20 round ammo capacity increased from 20 to 25. Guess it's no longer a 20 round. Stanag's 25 round ammo capacity increased from 25 to 30. It's going to be called something different, I'm assuming. I hope it's changed its name. 20 round speed mag ammo capacity increased from 20 to 25. Salvo 23 round fast mag ammo capacity increased from 23 to 30. So apparently they all decided that the AM63 did not have enough ammo in it. So
when I initially looked at this, I just thought the first one was referencing the AMP63. I didn't realize the entire section about attachments was about one weapon.
Yep. We get only AMP changes this patch, but the AMP has kind of weird recoil. It's really bouncy left to right, but it actually has really good TTKs. So this could be interesting. The thing that really held it back was the mag size before. So we might be able to use this off ghost loadouts on the first box potentially, and have a pretty good secondary.
Yeah, and people were responding to me complaining about, or tweeting in a complaining way about the new akimbo shotguns with fire breath, and we're saying that, well, we already have the AMP 63, so you could already do that. Well, now it's even better. So you guys are right.
Yeah, the amps, honestly, I think it was probably like last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. I went and unlocked them and got them fully leveled up, and they're not that good akimbo. I mean, they're nothing like what we used to run into with the akimbo snake shot or akimbo diamatis. Like, there's not even close to that good. So it's not too big of a problem right now. But a single amp is actually pretty good as just like an SMG.
Yeah.
Couple new changes, other changes. We've got a new gulag. It's called Rush, based on the classic Black Ops 2 map. This layout is comprised of the main speedball arena of Rush. I think we talked about this a little bit last time. Looks very symmetrical from what I can see. Hopefully it's a little bit more balanced, kind of closer to the Showers ideal gulag that we all harken back to. Any just kind of brief thoughts on the gulag map?
I like Rush. That's it. That's all I got.
I don't even know what Rush is. I'll have to look. Rush.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
It's a very simple map.
Yeah, it's
I'm sure I know what it is if I see it, but I just don't know what it is off the top of my head.
It's like a paintball arena, if I'm thinking of the right map.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it on the photos that we're seeing on the patch notes.
Oh yeah, I do recognize that.
That's a good idea, guys. Let me run a poll.
Yeah, I think it could be pretty balanced. I think again, we've talked about this like a couple times now. I think with the gulag situations, like the newest gulag or the most recent gulag that we've been playing for a while, it's like a 4-lane gulag, and I think that's a bit too complicated for a gulag the way it's supposed to be in like a 1v1 situation, like harken back or akin to more of like a multiplayer type setting, and you're going to be in a better spot. I mean, Showers was like that. It was, although there was like one maybe cheeky spot you could play, other than that, it was fairly fair, if you will, and hopefully Rush kind of brings that back, because I know everybody misses the Showers.
The biggest thing for a gulag being balanced is symmetry, but like kind of like what you just said, the current gulag that we have, which is what is it, hijacked, like a mini version of hijacked. Yeah. It just has exactly what you were saying. It has so many options for where you can go and angles you can peek and stuff that it's really complicated for a 1v1 situation. And I think a simpler map with symmetry on both sides is going to be ideal. So hopefully that's what it's going to be like.
And I think one thing to add to that though is like ultimately the weapons matter probably the most of what we're getting in the gulag, because
can we please remove stuns from the gulag? That just infuriates me.
Yeah, why are we handing 2 gulag prisoners stuns? Let alone if you're gonna have them fight to the death, that's fine. Give them pistols. That makes the most sense. But if you want to give them ARs and all that and expect them not to shoot all the guards, that's fine. Regardless, don't hand them stun grenades. What are we doing? Like, let's make it a fair fight. Like, my. And in the last tournament I casted that was like a private match tourney, people were getting crossbows, ballistic knives, magnums with ACOG scopes. What in the world are we doing here in the gulag? Like, give us some pistols and some M4s and we're going to be good to go.
Let's be real. The original gulag had a lot of complaints about it, and a lot of people didn't like it. But if you go back and look at what the complaints were about, it wasn't about the map. It was more so about the weapons, and it was also especially about, okay, I'm okay with lethals. You can have lethals. Doesn't bother me at all. If somebody cooks a grenade and throws it on my face, it happened. But when it comes to a stun, a flash grenade, there's no room for tacticals. The only one that I think could ever be okay is a snapshot grenade, and I don't even agree with that because half the time it sees you through 8 walls.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I get infuriated when I get stunned or flashed in the gulag. It just takes away all potential for outplay. You get stunned, you're just dead. Like, you just accept it. Like, well, all right.
Have you guys had the issue where you're in the newer gulags and you hear footsteps above you from the other people, and it just that's a big issue that wasn't prevalent with the first one.
Another problem with that is you can actually hit the people up there with your tacticals. So if you throw a stun and you get a hit marker, you think you hit the person that you're playing against, so you've actually hit somebody on the rafters above, and so you push them and you get killed because you didn't actually stun them.
Yeah, the first gulag, it was like I love the like crowd murmur. Like I don't mind a little buzz in my ears because that kind of makes it like entertaining and fun. That's like part of the ambiance of the gulag. It's like you get the crowd shouting in the background, but like the fact that I could hear people up on top of me just like in a like a really cheap like hotel like banging on the grounds with bowling balls. It makes no sense. Like what are we doing up there? And I'm throwing a snapshot out and it goes like all across the rafters. I'm like, come on, man. I'm trying to win my 1v1. Get me back into my event. Well, we'll see how Rush goes. Hopefully it's a good gulag.
Last question. If they did bring
ahead.
back the original gulag showers, I want to know if I'm the only one who thinks like this, or you guys agree. I thought the map was amazing. There is one spot that I think should be removed, and it's the sink peak. I don't think that you should be able to hop on those sinks and peek over. It honestly is like a head glitch, and it's the only head glitch on the map. You can literally cover 75% of the map, and the only way somebody can flank you is to pop up directly behind you, and you'd hear their footsteps. I think if they took that out, best gulag, never change it again.
Yeah, I had kind of forgotten about that, to be honest. But that was definitely a very annoying spot that people could get in, just hop up on those sinks and peek over the top edge. That was... I'm watching you dab right now.
They told me, damn it. I wasn't going to say anything.
Well, a couple of the things in the patch notes we can briefly talk about. Mobile broadcast stations, new point of interest. These POIs can be found in a variety of locations in Verdansk, differing from match to match to keep one area from being signal boosted by the rewards they offer. See what they're all about by going closer to them, but be sure to keep your head and tune out the broadcast each one emits. I quite literally have no earthly idea of what the hell that means.
I'm fucking stumped.
All right, let me read this.
I think that it'll have to play into... I have a tinfoil hat theory for later. Don't let me forget it. It's going to be great. You guys are going to love it. But I don't know what else these stations are being used for besides to advance the lore.
I have no idea.
I mean, they got so it looks like they're randomly put onto the map mobile broadcast stations. And looking at the picture, it's like a giant truck with a big old like antenna thing coming out of it. They've got extra loot there apparently, which is great, I guess. But then it says, "Keep your head and tune out the broadcast each one emits."
So I wonder if you can only like stand by it for a certain amount of time or something before, I don't know.
I think that we'll end up seeing some type of a game mode. This is speculation, but just based on the lore of Warzone right now and how they're trying to incorporate the previous numbers stuff from old Black Ops campaigns, is that I think they may end up doing a, limited time mode that revolves around, us as the operators are becoming what do you call it? We're getting turned over to the other side. We're being brainwashed, and we actually may like what if you stand next to this mobile broadcast station for too long, and it's like an upgrade station. Like you can upgrade your armor, you can add attachments to floor loot or whatever. But if you stand close to it for too long, you no longer can see where your teammates are, and they appear as enemies.
I don't see them turning your teammates into enemies. I think that's maybe a bit extreme.
Yeah,
but it's a cool idea. Cool idea.
That's Tony's way of saying, Doug, I see your tinfoil hat and I think it's stupid.
That's not even the tinfoil hat. The tinfoil hat's gonna be worse, bro.
I do think it's something like that. Like there's a lot of loot there. You can upgrade something or other, but in all reality, like you can only stand there a certain amount of time. Like it starts hurting you or something. Like maybe
it puts you on the mini map. Maybe it alerts for everybody that you're there or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure it's something like that, or it disorients you maybe. Like you can no longer use it's like you're getting like, I don't know, like mini stunned or something like that. You can't use all of your senses. That probably checks out. Interesting for sure. I'm not sure how much it'll change the actual game itself. Might change the comp scene slightly if it is still randomized in private matches. Could kind of mess up your favorite job spot potentially, or make it better. I have no idea. We'll see what happens. Other than that, there were some bug fixes and new battle pass, of course.
Important to note is a few things that are going to slip by for most of the community. They won't notice this because it's not very boldened or made aware of. The Sentry gun kill streak can now be found in supply boxes, number one. So it's no longer just a red room thing. It'll be all throughout Verdansk. And we talked about it on one of the last two podcasts, the specialist bonus, it's just popping up randomly. You can get it from a normal loot box now. Other than that, I wanted to talk about, just to let anybody who doesn't know yet, speaking of money and battle passes, the new operator for the battle pass, the hacker chick, to get a limited time skin that is only for 2 weeks, you have to buy it within the first 2 weeks. It says you have to buy the battle pass bundle. And what most people don't realize, they just think, oh, I just got to buy the battle pass. No, you got to buy the $20 version with 20 tier skips. I just want to let everybody at home know that it's a limited time skin. I'm not mad about it. You know, they didn't even have to add it to the game. They could have just not done it, and who would have cared? But it's there, just to let anybody know, because that was at the very top of the patch notes.
Good call. And I've got 3 more little quality of life issues that were added with season 5, and then we can kind of move into the meat of Vanguard leaks and things like that, and talk more with Tony. But a couple things. Number 1, they added the ability to hop off the zip line if you're getting shot at. Did you guys see that?
That's
Oh my
next.
God.
That's what I was going to bring up, Nick. I blanked on it.
That's actually massive. I mean, that's something that's a huge quality of life upgrade. It sounds so small if you don't play a ton of Warzone, but the amount of times I've hit a zip and it just absolutely gotten laser beamed, and you just have you can't do anything. It's like, and it really prevents you, to be fair, it really prevents you from taking the zip line too. It's like, if I hit this zip line and there's people looking at it, I will die, period. So if you can jump off the zip line, you have a chance to kind of help yourself out, and that'll actually very slightly change maybe the rooftop campy meta of like, hey, we can actually try this zip line. If it doesn't work, we can hop off and we still have a chance. So people are more willing to maybe push some of those fights. But that's one of the changes. Second change, steady aim went from only a hold option to a toggle option. Very, very small. But if you're sniping and you want to steady your aim, instead of having to hold the button the entire time, you can actually put that on toggle, and it'll last until it lasts, and then it'll stop.
It's actually
I
dope,
believe is that change.
because
So
usually if you're done holding your breath, you unscope. So that's not going to bother anybody in the slightest sense to turn on. They'll just stop. Like on control, I play controller. To hold your breath, you have to click in the left stick and hold it.
Right.
And that can
Right.
kind of mess with your aim or your ability to move. So that's actually a very good change that I didn't even notice.
Yep. So that's a good little change. And then one of the other changes, especially for people playing on like low res monitors or TVs or something like that, the armor boxes look like munitions in your inventory. You can kind of forget which one is which. And they changed the UI of the armor box to look different, and it looks quite a bit different. It's very obviously an armor box. It's like a closed armor box with a plate sitting in front of it. So good changes. These are things that maybe could have happened in season 1 when the game first came out, but that's fine.
Hey, we talked about this earlier. We talked about this earlier.
Maybe.
Say thank you. Say thank you and be happy. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
It is pretty crazy that they are making this big. I mean, this part of the patch notes takes up about 1/5 of the patch notes, and it's just a picture, which, I mean, it's great, but come on, y'all.
Yeah.
So Tony, overall impressions. I think that's literally everything in the patch notes for season 5. Overall impressions of season 5. What do you think?
I think it's gonna be really interesting to see what these new guns are like. So it sounds like, what's the first one called? The AR.
The
That thing sounds a
EM2.
lot like, yeah, it sounds a lot like it's going to be kind of like an Odin, like a really slow shooting, hard hitting gun. And the Odin's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time trying to make it viable because it has good TTKs, but it's just really hard to use. So we'll see how this new one feels compared to that. Could be really cool. Could be a lot of fun. Then something interesting I noticed about the weapons, the SMG, it says it's semi-auto. That's the first semi-auto SMG we've had, I think.
Yep. And you can turn it into burst fire, I believe.
That's interesting. Yeah. So that's totally new. I have no idea how that's going to feel like. Yeah, I guess KSP was kind of burst, but it was not single fire. It was only a burst. So we'll see.
It's kind
gonna
of
be
okay,
interesting.
because like in CS:GO and stuff, if you guys haven't played it before, the Tech 9 is used as a long range semi-auto pistol, so it can fit. It's not. They're not the first game to do it.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. It's probably going to be one of those guns that, if I had to guess, it'll have really, really good TTKs, but it'll be really hard to use just because, in general, I mean, right now we have the FAL still has phenomenal TTKs. The what's it called? The Type 63 still has phenomenal TTKs. They're just really hard to use up close because you have to try to control the recoil at the same time as, clicking as fast as you can, especially on mouse. That's kind of hard to do because you're clicking and the mouse has to be moving to control the recoil, and it can be tricky. So it'll be interesting. I expect it'll be kind of like that, where it'll have really good TTKs, but it'll just be kind of hard to control. And then as far as the EM2, I have no idea. We'll have to see about that. It'll be cool to have another gun that's kind of like the Odin. The Odin's super fun.
Speaking of guns, this is kind of falling into the leak category. Not many people know about this. Have you guys heard about the E10?
You're an idiot.
Fuck.
You're an idiot. You're an idiot. I'm not dumb.
Just say it, Tony. Just say it.
I've heard every dick joke in the game. I promise. I literally was known as Grandmaster Candace for like half a year. Okay, I know them all. E-Ted is the oldest one in the book. Anyways,
Eating this dick.
Nice, dude. Good. I'm really excited to be here.
I figured it out as we were talking about it. I figured out what was coming.
Yeah, it was coming in 2 ways. The last thing about the last thing that we're gonna mention about the season 5 patch notes before we move on to Vanguard is my tinfoil hat theory. Okay, listen, hold on to your seats because this ties into anti-cheat as well, people. Okay, the newest operator in Call of Duty is named Kitsune. She is a hacker by nature. You can see in the reveal trailer that she is a hacker. She is working on hacking things. And it
like me, I'm gonna need a new profile after this anti-cheat gets launched.
Yeah, and
Nice.
they you know, the community reacted very negatively, which is understandable to them literally using a hacker to promote their next battle pass. My thought is, with all the news that has came out about anti-cheat, this is planned. Okay, listen, put on your hats, everybody. Okay, so what's going to happen is that this operator is going to play directly into the lore or any future events moving into Vanguard. And at the end of Season 6, when we move into, you know, Vanguard's territory and we start to transition, what if the event is her going into a computer system via the number stations in Verdansk and she uploads a firewall? Like basically a defensive mechanism that stops bullshit from happening. And then they announce anti-cheat via that way.
Be pretty cool. I mean, I would be surprised if they would tie an in-game event to adding anti-cheat. That would be kind of...
I mean, I think they'd get a lot of positive praise about it.
I might sit on the other side of the fence there, Doug. I appreciate your positivity, but with the way the community responds to anything Raven tweets out ever, I would assume that if they try to implement some sort of like cinematic to adding anti-cheat to the game, that they would get obliterated.
Damn it, man. I'm always too optimistic.
I mean, I respect it.
Try to pretend like there's no problem most of the time, like they've done for the last, 8 months. So we'll see.
When we move on to this Vanguard subject, okay, I'm going to sit on the outside so I don't get myself in trouble, okay? You guys are going to talk about what you already know, and you can ask me questions. We're going to do this a bit of a different way. If you have a question about the things you've seen leaked, ask it. Because if I start talking, bro, I'm not going to stop, and I'm going to say things I shouldn't. I know way too much.
That's why there's editing, Doug. It's okay.
Okay.
Let's just tell all. It's fine.
Did you see Charlie Intel's reply to me earlier?
No, what did he say?
I quote tweeted COD because if you guys didn't know, Call of Duty leaked their own reveal trailer for Vanguard. I mean, if you don't keep up with leaks, you wouldn't have known that image of planes flying over that says leaks, rumors, leaks. That is legitimately from their reveal trailer that was showcased. Okay. And number 2 is I responded to that and I quote tweeted and I said, does this mean that I can talk about anything I want to on the podcast tonight? And Charlie Intel responded to me and he said, if you don't want your Twitch to disappear, I don't recommend it, or something along those lines.
That's classic. Holy.
We'll be careful.
I think you do it. I think we put a poll in the chat right now and say, do we do it? Just full send. Yeah. Everybody say full send on 3. 1, 2, 3. No. Okay.
Delete your VOD, Doug. I've heard that's okay. Just delete your VOD.
Yeah. Everything's going to be fine.
I have been banned in the middle of a live stream before, by the way, from them. So I'm not chancing it. Yeah, dude. That's like when my Twitter was blowing up. That was around the Black Ops Cold War pawn takes pawn reveal, because all the stuff was happening in the bunkers. So people had questions. I had a YouTube video where I legitimately went into every bunker in a Warzone game via the ATV glitch. And we were just watching that video and talking, and then my channel was taken down. I was gone. That was the first time I had a conversation with Activision employees, because I had to.
That's when you got the DM. That's when you got the DM you up from Activision, and they're like, "We got you, bitch." Like,
thankfully, a content creator reached out and said, "Hey, man," because I was distraught. I thought that the next step was Twitter's going, so I was losing it. Like, I literally thought all the work I had put in was done off of watching a YouTube video. And luckily, a content creator, I'm not going to name you, but you know who you are. If you ever listen to this, thank you so much. You saved my career.
You're welcome, Doug. I got you.
Fuck. God damn it.
All right, so Tony, you're a weapons guy. Your website's incredible. It has so much data in it. What do you know about Vanguard, and from what you've seen on the Twitter timeline, what do you know about the new game coming out and all the leaks, if anything?
I know that it's supposed to be World War II. I may or may not have seen some cover art for the boxes. That's pretty much it. To be completely honest, I don't know very much about it.
See, yeah, here's the problem, Doug. We're both pretty active on Twitter, but at the same time, we kind of stay in our lane. So, I've been focusing on tournament stuff, and I saw some Battlefield stuff, I think, and that's most of what I saw on the leak side. So you got to give us a little bit of something to go off.
All right, fuck it, I'm going in. I'm saying everything that Tom Henderson tweeted. All right.
Big W's in the chat right now.
So
if Doug gets banned, we're starting to GoFundMe. Okay, go ahead.
What has been posted so far is mainly from Tom Henderson and Call of Duty Hope, who is a data miner with the Cheeseburger Boys. And all of this is coming from a meeting that happened between content creators and people higher up in the companies. And they were showcased and allowed to ask questions about the game. Well, it all leaked literally as the call was still happening live. So some of the things that came out of that was Tom tweeted 24 and a picture of a map. This, when you guys hear me say Tom and this or that, I have to reference other people, okay? That's how I protect myself. 24 and a map, and that means 24 maps at launch. What that does not mean is that there are 24 multiplayer maps. 24 maps across all game modes. That includes zombies, which has now been confirmed to be in the next game. And speaking of another leak, it was previously debunked after the Cheeseburger Boys published it that Treyarch would be the main people working on zombies in Sledgehammer Games' next game. Well, that's not the case. Treyarch's running the show. It's going to follow on, and it's going to prelude to the current zombie storyline. You guys asked me what I'm getting all lost in all the different stuff. 24 maps. I tweeted this earlier, and nobody knows what I'm talking about, and I'm not going to go into crazy detail on it, but 10 attachments. That's what I will say. You got your work cut out for you, Tony.
Oh, that's a big yikes, dog.
Yeah, and what I will say about that is when I say 10 attachments, I say attachments specifically for a reason. I don't just mean a grip and this. If you recall from Modern Warfare and Warzone, perks are considered attachments. So do with that information what you will, but there will be 10.
Okay.
Next off, Jesus Christ, I'm so fucked. Next off, one of the things that a lot of the competitive scene had issues with Modern Warfare was the doors. And that is totally understandable. It made it to where it was just a pain to do rotations without the whole map hearing you and things like that. Well, I was told that in 2 out of the 5 alpha maps that the source was able to play, that there were minimal doors. He didn't even hardly notice them. And on top of that, doors are destructible. You can blow them up. And on top of that, typical door areas have a wall nearby that you can just blow up.
So to be clear, let's be very, very clear. We're not talking about red doors. We're talking about doors in general. They're wooden doors that can be blown up and destroyed, like Apex or something else. Apex is a great example because you kick those doors down all the time. And the walls next to them theoretically can be blown apart as well.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. That reminds me of Battlefield, obviously, where destructible environments. That'll be really cool for Call of Duty to have just in general. And obviously doors are super annoying. Anytime you have to push through a door, it's like you could get shot from any side and not have any clue where it's coming
almost
from.
comparable to hopping on a zip line in Warzone. Like you just put yourself in an incredible disadvantage.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Interesting.
Other than that, I can mention a few things that I've seen others mention. I think it was Call of Duty, MW2 Ghost, who's a known leaker. He said 12 multiplayer maps at launch. I cannot confirm or deny that one. That is not from me. Everything else that I've seen said, shit's true. There is no cap on the timeline. This new game is going to be good. Whether you want it to be, whether you thought it would be, it's going to be good. It's going to change the scene. It's honestly going to be probably one of the first Call of Duty games in a long time to try to innovate besides Modern Warfare. And I'm extremely excited about it.
Yeah, I saw something. I guess this is something that I saw. I don't know. This just kind of goes alongside with the doors and things like that. I saw grenades coming into a room will any of the what I'll call extra terrain in that room, like chairs and things like that, will actually react to the explosion, be blown back and things like that. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's some leak that I saw.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about that. Yes, Addy, there will be zombies. It will be a prequel to the current storyline. Oh, I'm trying to think of everything else. Honestly, I know too much. Um,
Classic
campaign
Doug.
campaign's looking good. It was speculated upon by the people. I don't like talking about campaign. Listen, I know that anybody who's at home listening, and I've seen my Twitter replies, bro, you grew up off of leaks, this, that, and the other. How are you just going to abandon what you do? Look, I'm totally fine with talking about gameplay mechanics and things like that. What I am not okay with is spoiling any part of a story or any part of a narrative that has been driven and supposed to be mysterious. I found that out the hard way when my Twitch got banned because I was legitimately ruining months of hard work that these developers had put in to make this an Easter egg and an interactive experience by just ruining it and going into the end part before they even got to the middle. So that is not my goal. My goal is to inform you guys through gameplay mechanics and stuff like that. And that's why I said 10 attachments. I'm not saying pick 10. I'm not saying any other stuff. I'm just saying 10 attachments. I'm saying what I know. I'm finally, for once in my life, trying not to speculate.
So 10 attachments per gun?
No. You can put 10 attachments on one gun.
Oh, Lord, help us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit in the weapon building menu for like 3 hours.
Actually, let me rephrase that because I'm not 100% on it. I was told 10 attachments. I was not told whether or not it is per weapon. As Chad is saying, it could be. It also could be that you get a total of 10 attachments to choose between both of your weapons. I don't know. What I do know is 10 attachments. I know that's very confusing, but
Tony, that like really messes up your stuff.
It'll be interesting. It's the thing that could mess it up a lot is trying to figure out how things stack. So that's kind of one of the things that's weird about Warzone and Modern Warfare specifically is like things don't stack linearly. So like ADS times, when you add up ADS times, it's not like, oh, this one does 21 milliseconds, this one does 50 milliseconds, this one does 20 milliseconds. So it's, plus 90 milliseconds. That's not the way it works. It's like
they interact with each other. Like each individual attachment interacts with each other.
It's something complicated that honestly I have not been able to figure out completely. Everyone's like, oh, it's just percentages. You just multiply the percentages. Well, that's not true. I've done the math. Trust me. I've spent a lot of time trying to figure this out, and it's not just that simple. There's something like extreme diminishing returns across the board, and I have an equation on the site that tries to do that. But anyway, back to the point. If the attachments have weird stacking things, it's going to be a mess to figure out. But that's what I'm here for. So it's okay. It'll be good. Content, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of content. You got a lot of videos to make, my man. I mean, it could also be something. I mean, am I insane to think that it could also be something that's similar to Cold War, where you have a certain perk that gives you 10 attachments that you can attach to a gun?
Wild cards. That is potential as well. Look, the information I got just I don't know why this happens, but it just kind of just falls on my doorstep. I try not to look too deep into it because the deeper I look, the more I try to add things with my own logical brain, and the more I get myself in trouble when I report on these things and they end up not being true. It honestly, everything about it looks good to me. Another thing that I can say is that one of the campaign operators who was leaked, I forget her name. She's a woman, but there is actually dev art that goes back to Sledgehammer Games producing what we now know as Black Ops Cold War before they were relegated off of it. And they're using that same asset that they created for that game, and she looks almost the same on this game. So people at home are going to be like, reused assets. What that means to me is that because they were moved off of Black Ops Cold War, doesn't mean they had to start from scratch. They had a good game. They had a good base to build off of. They didn't just have to throw everything in the trash, and that's a good thing in my opinion.
Look, I think you're right. I think that those are some quality of life things that we'll see how they actually play out when the game actually drops. I mean, we can speculate all day long. We can look at how many leaks we get all day long, and most of them usually are true, especially from credible sources. But sometimes they not only, not just like they're wrong, but it's also like, we saw. I think it was. I mean, Doug, you and I were talking about this at one point. Like we saw things happen leak wise in the Call of Duty community, and then those things didn't end up coming to head and actually releasing into the game for like 8 months or something like that. So it could be where some of the things that are being leaked like don't come into the game until later. Usually this happens when you're looking at like game files and things, I feel like. But
yeah, and one more thing. No, actually, I just lost what I was thinking about. Keep going. Oh, my brain's going a million miles an hour.
Release date.
Approximate. Oh shit! Here we go. Well, you asked about it.
Wait. Hold on. We talked over each other. Tony, say that again.
I was asking if we have like an approximate release date of Vanguard.
Yes. All right. This was the tweet I put out earlier that I was a bit worried about, but
do it.
Nobody has messaged me. The only person who's reached out to me asked me to credit Raven Software about patch notes. So I think I'm okay to talk about this. Let's hope so. I tweeted earlier dates to look forward to. I'm not going to say what each date is. I'm going to let you, this is the part that I wanted to do. I wanted to put out what I said on Twitter and then let you guys speculate about it. If you have a question you want to, you look crazy. Stop doing that.
Do it. Tell us the date.
The first date to look forward to, I had tweeted before the initial leak started. It's going to be 8/19, so August 19th. So we're only a week away from that.
That is a great day. That is the day
that's Tony's birthday.
Was born in 1993.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, cheers. Happy early birthday to Tony.
Thank
Happy
you.
drink.
The next date is 8/27 to 8/29. I put a controller emoji next to that. The next date is September 10th through September 12th. I put a play button and a controller emoji next to that. The next one is September 16th through September 20th. So there's a 4-day break between these last two. And I put a emoji of 2 people and a controller. And then the next date is 11/5 with a big celebratory emoji. And then the next date is 11/23 with an emoji of leaves falling and the number 1. So you guys go ahead and talk to each other.
Yeah. I mean, can we just like, I mean, Doug,
No,
like, I
figure it out.
appreciate it, but like, it's pretty easy, right? Like 8/19 is the reveal. 8/27 to 29th is the alpha. 9/10 to 9/21, or not 9/21. 9/12 is the PlayStation beta. 9/16 to 9/20 is the beta for everybody. 11/5 is the release. How did I do?
Just look at the camera. And I also want to make clear that these dates are all subject to change, because the thing that I got this from actually has season 5 was actually on this thing that Jesus fuck, stop talking so much. Anyways, season 5 was supposed to be happening based off of what I posted these from. It should have already been out. So these are subject to change, but I don't think they will.
We're rough and tumbled, pretty close to when we expect everything. Okay, cool.
All right, so I've got about looks like 2 weeks to entirely get Battlefield 2042 on the website and then come back to COD. Sounds good. 2 weeks to do an entire game. No problem.
Good luck, my man. I mean, hey, look, I mean, we don't need to talk about this for a long time, but I think it's a good thing to see that if Vanguard comes out in a super strong game, Battlefield comes out, it's a super strong game, and then Halo, Infinite's release is a super strong game. Like, that's a good thing for the FPS community in particular, in the gaming community. I mean, Warzone has had quite literally zero competition for the last, 15 months in terms of the gaming sphere. I mean, the only competition that's ever popped up was Among Us, and that's not even the same game genre. Like, there's nothing. And so this is a good thing that we have multiple games that we can go back and forth on.
I hope that specifically Battlefield, I hope releases a BR, because, and like you said, competition is pretty much always good for the consumer. So in this case, if Battlefield releases a good BR, that's going to force Warzone. I mean, I love Warzone, obviously. I mean, I've dedicated 1.5 years of my life, 100% to Warzone. So I want it to be good. And if Battlefield releases a good BR, that's going to force, Raven to actually fix all the problems that people have with Warzone, or it's going to die. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, we don't know about any sort of BR for Battlefield yet, but hopefully that's coming. And Halo would be awesome to have a BR too. I feel like I talked to a lot of people about that, and some people were saying I didn't feel like it was made for a BR. I'm like, what are you talking about? It has all the vehicle mechanics already built in and big maps, and I don't know. I just feel like Halo could have an awesome BR if they.
Oh, yeah. I think it would be, you'd have to equate it to a Warzone BR. It wouldn't be an attachment BR, right? Yeah. You're not going and putting attachments on your Halo BR, your Halo AR or Magnum or whatever. So it's definitely going to be more like the Warzone type, where you're finding those weapons on the ground. And then you've got the like vehicles and like we talked about this on the podcast before. I would die for it. I'm a Halo guy. Like I grew up on Halo, so like that's kind of where I thrive. That's why I've been loving Splitgate so much recently. But I've always conjectured in my like very light tinfoil hat idea is always conjectured like they were never planning on releasing a BR, and then the game started gaining popularity about like how exciting everybody was for it, and the BR category is so popular that when these like random accidental, not even really leaks, but like hey, where are you dropping or like dropping in or whatever, they had that one tweet about dropping in on Halo, and they had that like battleship or whatever, or that like escape pod or whatever it was. That's what stirred all this hype about a Halo BR, which is like not happening. And they were like, let's just start building one. And so maybe they're in production. We're not going to get one till like next summer or something like that. But
I think it would be silly if both Halo and Battlefield didn't make a BR. I feel like that's just the way things are going. And as far as I'm concerned, like for me personally, multiplayer just doesn't hold my interest anymore. The only thing that ever, as an adult, has held my interest in terms of multiplayer was like Overwatch competitive. So if we got some sort of like competitive scene for these different things, maybe that would be different. But Battlefield's not going to have competitive and 64 v64 maps. There's no way they could do competitive in that. So that's
right.
not going to be a thing. And I feel like Battlefield also is perfectly built for a BR. I'm sure you've talked about this before, but like gigantic maps, huge number of players, vehicle mechanics already, attachment system already, weapon system. I mean, it's just perfect for a BR. So we'll see if they. I'm sure they'll put one out. Obviously they haven't confirmed it, but I'm sure there's going to be.
Speaking of BR maps, some people here may not know, but it's already been leaked about the next Call of Duty Warzone map, and I see a lot of people on the internet always say we're going to Verdansk 1944. We are not. Verdansk is done. Verdansk is about to go bye-bye for good. We are going to be moving into a map that is almost twice the size of current Verdansk.
Jeez.
Not only that,
really?
it will include new vehicles. And what vehicles do you guys think a map twice the size of current Verdansk would need? When you go
planes.
to... Yes.
Yeah, aircraft.
Yes.
Got that big brain, Doug.
I can't say for sure they'll be there, but based off everything I've heard, it makes 0 sense for there not to be planes in the new map. But I don't think they had heat-seeking missiles in World War II, so I don't know how that's going to work.
That's going to be wild. 2 times the size of Verdansk?
Yep.
Holy cow.
I'd like to see like an overlay. So I've played Battlefield forever. I've played pretty much every Battlefield ever, literally. And I'd be really interested to see how big Verdansk is compared to some of the bigger Battlefield maps. To put that in perspective for my mind of what his planes on Battlefield maps feel fine. So I'd need to see how that would compare to like a Verdansk map.
Yeah, that sounds like a Reddit post waiting to happen or already has happened. So maybe there's a Reddit post for it. This is an interesting question. With a map twice the size of Verdansk, with a potential add or theoretical add of aircraft on the map, are we going to see a player increase as well? I feel like we have to, or it's going to be stale, or it's going to be slow at the very least. I mean, even with planes, not everybody can have a plane, I'm assuming. So you're going to be running simulator of sorts, unless there's just an absolute metric ton of vehicles, which I think it wouldn't ruin the game, but it would make it very, very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to see an increase of players. You're going to at least get to 200 again. I mean, 200 player Verdansk was like my favorite game mode of all time.
Yeah, I was going to say, many people don't know, but the game was originally designed and created to be 200 players. That had issues.
Yeah, when they boosted it, they did that whatever it was called, where you played 200 player
Absolute
Verdansk.
chaos.
It was awesome. I loved it. Yeah. It was like my favorite. It was like my favorite map ever. And I think Jacob's in the chat right now. That was the other thing that I was gonna bring up was like, if you're increasing the size of the map ×2, that first circle is gonna be like a PUBG zone. I mean, you're gonna in like the current Warzone zone on this like steroids. It's gonna be flying. Like unless
I would hope they would adjust that so you can maybe have a chance to outrun it.
Unless it's the question of you got to find a vehicle. I mean, that's kind of how PUBG was. If you guys played PUBG back in the day, original PUBG was like, you got to find a vehicle, circle 1, or you're dead. Unless if you're landing on the edges of the zone, right? And maybe that's how they're going to make this map. It's going to be a lot more vehicles. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not positive about it either. What I do know is that VGC is the original people who put this out, so don't think this information comes from me about the next Warzone map. They were the ones who said it. They were the original people who came out with all of this information, and that's what they originally said. Based off of what I've been able to obtain from reaching out to people, they're very excited about the next Warzone map. There's no bad opinions.
Yeah,
And it's going to be much more well done. And I've already seen people ask when we're going to get the integration. That's the thing that fucked up Warzone's in Cold War, is that it had to have an integration. What was always the idea and what is supposed to happen is when a new Call of Duty game comes out, it launches with Warzone. There is no slow integration. It's supposed to be ready from the jump. And this game, from everything I've heard, should be ready to go launch day. That's not that far away.
No, it's not. I mean, new equals good.
Right.
Period. Yeah. Tony's sitting here thinking, like, as we're all talking, he's like, "Oh, this is exciting," but also his brain's like, "So much work, so much."
Work.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a huge question. It's like, I'm scared if the map's that big and so many changes. Content is good. New content is good. Like, new equals good, but they could totally boof that map if they're not careful.
I think they've learned their lesson. And I think
but if you slow down zone timers to accommodate where it's not like I have to find a vehicle or like a running simulator, that means each game is going to take like 45 minutes, and like that is not appetizing for a lot of people. I feel like Warzone already runs on a little bit of the long side for a BR. Am I wrong in that?
No, that's definitely true from my experience. I mean, I played PUBG, Apex, a couple other smaller BRs too, and Warzone's obviously the biggest with 150 players, and the matches take 25-30 minutes to finish if you go all the way. So 200 players, bigger map, twice the size of Verdansk. That's going to be interesting to see, because it's already, obviously, like we just said, it's already super long to dedicate to a full match of Warzone, especially if you're trying to win.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a casual gamer that's sitting down at their chair to go play, I mean, some people sit down to play for like an hour and then get off. That's like, you don't even have time for 2 matches if it's like a 40-minute game.
Yeah.
I mean, it could
Well, I
depend,
have
but
the answer to my earlier question, by the way.
Yeah,
Map size of Verdansk versus the Battlefield maps. So some popular Battlefield maps that we're expecting to be remastered in 2042 are anywhere from 0.2 kilometers squared to 1.9 kilometers squared, and Verdansk is approximately 0.14 kilometers squared. So the Battlefield maps are already way bigger than Verdansk.
That's good to know.
another thing, when you think about map size and stuff, the people who are listening, I just want you guys to realize that size is not always indicative of content and how many areas there are to go to. For instance, you'll play a lot of games where the map will be massive and full of buildings. You can't go in the buildings.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
I don't know for sure how that's going to work. One thing I forgot to mention about earlier is that, yes, weapon mounting is back in Vanguard. So don't expect it to disappear from Warzone either, unless they just decide to remove it. I mean, that's one of the clear and obvious things about, the way they're trying to move forward with this. Really, they really just want to combine everything and make sure that it can all run smoothly together, and that they build upon their previous games. And I think that part of the new map, this is speculation, this is not source. I'm expecting that the new map will be much easier to drag and drop new content in POIs. Because right now, we've had like 4 change. I mean, we got the new summit, we got all this, but we had to have these big major events and a nuke go off for this to happen. I think they realized that even with an anti-cheat, with a new massive map and potentially 200 players, they realized that they have to do more updates in the amount of time, and not just say we're adding 2 melee weapons and it's a cane and a baseball bat. Like, we need new areas to explore. People have pretty much mastered the Verdansk map at this point. As me especially, one of my favorite things with video games is learning new things and trying to master them and the mechanics behind them. So I hope that with the new map, they decide to continue to move forward and move on from having the same even if with the next game release next year, it's a brand new map ready to go at launch. I would like to see at least 3 major map changes throughout a 12-month period.
I mean, that is the key to success, I feel like, for a game's longevity. I mean, Warzone has been, kind of hinted at being, or even like outright said at this point, that they want Warzone to be around for the next like 5 years with all of these new Call of Duties integrating into it, if I'm not correct. Like that's something that's going to require a lot of content to keep around. We're kind of in a new age of gaming where, like, hey, yes, there's people that play Call of Duty regardless of what streamers are playing and things like that. But the hype around a game comes from content creators, streamers, YouTubers, like people creating content about the game. And if the only way to create content about a game, new content, exciting content, content that's searchable on YouTube is, hey, there's a new gun. How does it work inside the game? Like, that's not enough content, I think, to keep the life of a game around for 5 years. That's enough content to build a business around. That's enough content to build a YouTube around for sure, because people are always searching for the meta in Warzone, because the TTK is so incredibly short and small and quick in this game that everybody's looking for a leg up. So that's why like things like YouTube videos of like, hey, I dropped 47 kills with a Mac 10 for the 30th time in a row. These are the attachments I use. People still watch those videos is because they want to know what the weapons that they need to be using are to have a competitive edge in the game, because people want to play better if they can. But content wise, and for people to stay hype around the game, you need new drops, you need new maps, you need expansions on the current map. I think people like Apex have done a pretty good job of that. They've released new maps fairly regularly.
They
to
have
a degree.
3 full-size BR maps in rotation week by week. That is crazy.
Right. And they've taken all 3 of those 3 maps that they have that they're rotating through and made small changes throughout the way that are bigger. Those small changes are bigger than what we've seen in Warzone today.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to think about with the Apex maps, obviously, it's 60-player BR, so the maps are a lot smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So it's harder to have an entire new map when it takes that much time to develop. But one thing that frustrates me about Warzone specifically is they feel like they have to tie every single change to the map to some big like storyline event.
Yeah.
And like Warzone's not a storyline. It's people don't go there for a story. People are there to just play a good BR. And I feel like they should just make the changes they want to make to the map and don't tie it to the story. I don't care about the story. No one's playing Warzone for a campaign like story. We're not, at least I'm not, I guess. Maybe there are some people that would disagree with that, but I'm like, I just want a good map.
I think they're trying to follow Fortnite's formula.
I don't care about a story at all.
Yeah, I think they're trying to follow Fortnite's formula, because Fortnite, as crazy as it is, and it's in a completely objective reality, the story kind of ties together, and they have all these communities that go about tying it together with the cube and all this other crazy stuff. I think that they were trying to follow that same success line, and they just really did it badly. If you guys don't know at home, Warzone used to have these things called intel drops that happened every week, and you would have to go throughout the map and find five different things about the lore of Warzone, and they were how we ended up finding. Yeah, look at Goj's face; he has no idea. They removed these. They actually completely removed them from the game after. So they ended up leading to the last one they ever did, led to that cutscene where Captain Price finds Victor Zakhaev inside of the nuclear silo in Bunker 10, and he throws him down. That was the last one. After that, they just completely removed them from the game. They're not available anymore. You can't look at the ones you completed. You don't have any of the things you unlocked from it. So my concern with the story is they don't come out and talk about these things publicly, because everybody's going to be like, what? Like you said, they would get destroyed. But is that story still relevant? Were the detail? I mean, I spent a lot of time going through that and figuring out the lore of Warzone. Is any of that shit still real?
Bro, I didn't even know 90% of what you just said existed.
I've never heard of that.
Oh
and
my!
I have like 60 days playtime in Warzone.
Yeah, that's how I started my YouTube career. That was mainly the brunt of my videos. Was each week I would do a new intel and how to go find them video.
See, here's the thing. Here's the thing with Fortnite. I think some people follow the storyline of Fortnite, but they can do it low key enough and make all the changes to where they can go, hey, here's the storyline of why there's freaking Thanos here in Fortnite. Woohoo. And then everybody else, like the 99% of people that play the game are like, oh, heck yeah, Marvel partnership, get that bag. Here we go. It's Marvel. And we play the game. You know what I mean? Warzone should do the same thing. Like, stop making it such a big deal to like tie in the storyline. Do some fun little like cinematic if you really want to do it for the 1%. And then for everybody else, just go, Boom, new POI. Boom, this entire side of the map has evolved into a volcano. It got blown to pieces. Brand new terrain to run about on. Like, boom, there's now horses. I don't care. Like, change something. Like,
There's no horses.
good grief.
I think it could go back to their history, and some of the things that I had issues with as a Call of Duty gamer growing up was when they moved to future warfare and all the bullshit. For me, the phrase Call of Duty is a very serious phrase. Not only is it about, veterans who actually fought in war. One of the real charities of the world is called Call of Duty, and it's how I think that they feel that they have to be tied to realism in a certain way to honor veterans. I'm not sure if that's true, but
the zombies really.
Yeah.
Really
oh my God,
sort of
that's
realistic.
clearly a fake mode. Tony's trying to trigger me, chat.
I mean, they were in Verdansk, Doug.
Suck it, Doug.
I remember one of the things that really triggered me about the lore of Warzone was that I went through all through all of that to make sure that I had it connected the dots right in my head, right? And they did the Halloween event, and I was like, cool, this is obviously not real. And they made it a point that it was not real. In all their descriptions of it, it was a fever dream. Well, when they add the zombies from Cold War, they said it was real. They said that really happened in the game.
Hey, look. I wish the hackers were a fever dream. Like, come on, bro. What is that?
I couldn't believe they came out and said that, because one of the actual directors of I don't want to misquote who this gentleman is, but he put on social media that it was not, he doesn't want that to be real and it never will be real. A couple months later, it's fucking real apparently.
I mean, Haunting of Verdansk is exactly what I'm talking about. How fun was that?
That was so fun, and I don't mind if it's real.
I don't care if they tie it all into a real cohesive story. It was a blast. It was a ton of fun, and we've never seen it again. Like, why don't we get that like once every 2 weeks where you can play it for 2 days? Like, come on, that was fun. That was a fun event.
The greatest event. And
I feel like
a new game mode.
I feel like everybody agreed with that. Like, the game modes they've been coming out with, no offense. Look, if Raven's offers in here, I'm sorry. I'm just not a fan of. Like, I don't care about payload. Like, that's a great way to.
I have literally not played Payload once, so obviously it's not very interesting.
It's a good way to level your guns, I guess. Maybe I think is what somebody, like a friend of mine, told me or something like that. I have no idea. But regardless, like, the game modes that they're adding that are trying to be fun and interesting are not fun and interesting. What was fun and interesting is when you release a limited time game mode that is completely different. Haunting of Verdansk was so sick. You had the biggest streamers playing it. You had content creators making videos about it. You get to run around like a zombie. Like, come on. This is what we want.
From my side of things, obviously I'm the gun guy. Like, Haunting of Verdansk, it was night mode, so there were all these different things you had to think about. You had to think about lasers being super visible. You had to think about all the barrels that hide tracers. Like, those became real things to think about in your builds. And I ran, for example, I ran an M13 with the Cyclone barrel, which has no tracers in Verdansk because it was night mode, and nobody knew where I was. It was so fun. It was a completely different experience than regular Warzone, and we just haven't even had a chance to see it again. They already made a night mode map. Why can't we just have that back sometime?
Not only that, I mean, yeah, they also, I mean, you also had the thought of, do I use a thermal now? Is everybody going to be running close? Like, all those things are just fresh, new things that keep us involved. I'm pretty sure we were all sad when the event ended, but just about the amount of time that event is, I think that's the exact right amount of time they need, because people were getting a bit tired of Zombie Royale at the end and all that. I mean, it was crazy, but you have to continue to reinvigorate the series.
And they had the assets, like they have the asset of a night mode version of Verdansk. So it doesn't have to come back as zombies. It can come back as just a night mode map. And we could just have that every week or every couple of weeks where we could play a couple games of night mode. And it would be a completely different experience where you build your guns entirely different with these, no tracer barrels. You don't use lasers so people can't see you. You use thermal scopes, like Doug said. Like, it was just a completely unique experience. And they already have that made. So I just don't understand why it hasn't come back at all.
Yeah, I think that's a huge, point of I say point of order almost of why the game has slowly been dwindling. Besides the hacker problem, we've always talked about this the whole time, is the content. And when you release something like a night mode into Verdansk, it's a completely different game mode that causes you to rethink the weapons you're using, right? And the only content pieces they've given us has been weapons. So at the very least, let us play around with the weapons you've given us. Let us play around with the different loadouts that we have. and make it different based on the different game mode we're playing. Right now, the only choice I have is, do I use the Mac 10 as a secondary, or do I use an AS Val, depending on, you know, if I'm running solos or trios? You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
that's really the only variability that I'm getting in my loadouts right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we got way off track. We were talking about Vanguard. Going back to Vanguard, these are the last two things I have to say about it. I saw somebody ask in chat, is it going to still be like if you go on Black Ops Cold War right now, you have to load up Modern Warfare to launch Warzone. They're asking if it's going to be native to Vanguard, and I could see it happening. I haven't been told it will, but it makes sense. Same engine. You know, Cold War does not have that engine at all. This new game is going to be an upgraded version of the engine. So I don't know why they wouldn't, but at the same time, boy, they make so much fucking money off of having that little tab in the middle, that menu blade where you have to see Warzone. I mean, I've seen, if you don't know, if you currently own Modern Warfare and you try to go look that up in your PC files, there's no game called Modern Warfare anymore. It's just called Call of Duty Warzone.
Wait, what? Say that again?
When you go to launch Modern Warfare, you are launching Warzone. There is no Modern Warfare file.
All right, we're gonna fact check this right now.
That's
Live
how
on
it
the-
was a couple
live on
months
stream.
ago.
Wait, what is that? What does that mean though?
That means that they basically, they completely have, Modern Warfare is basically just a love child of Warzone, is the way it's being treated. They've
Gotcha.
removed all references of Modern Warfare and just said Call of Duty Warzone. Because they want you to move forward to the next game.
Sure, even so, a good example with TrueGameData, I'm trying sort of to potentially build like an actual company that can cover a bunch of different games and things. So obviously we need to cover what's popular, and I have literally not even touched Modern Warfare or Black Ops Cold War since they got released. We have them both on the site. I haven't even added the new guns for Black Ops Cold War because like it's a fraction of the popularity of Warzone. And JGod can speak to this as well. He went all in on Warzone when Warzone came out, and his channel exploded.
Mhm.
And it's just, it makes total sense that they're going all in on Warzone and just pretending like Modern Warfare doesn't exist anymore.
A lot of people on the Modern Warfare community, like subreddits and stuff, are so fucking mad about that.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. And there's people that love multiplayer, and that's fine, but it's just the thing. They're just trying to make money, and Warzone's making them so much money right now that that's what they're diving into.
Right, and let's even talk about timelines too. I mean, if Warzone's planned to be like kind of the game in perpetuity for the next 5 years that they're continually updating and giving content to and rebranding and giving new maps to, I mean, it makes sense that they're pouring more effort into that than something with a 1 year life cycle or or 1.5 years or whatever they decide to do, right? On paper, it also makes sense that way as well. And I think their multiplayer popularity is on the decline. CDL is a whole nother conversation that we could have at a different time. I mean, I'm going to Champs literally next weekend, and I'm really excited about it. But we could talk about the CDL and their viewership too, if you really wanted to at some point, and say like, hey, what's prevailing, what's not prevailing, and what's growing and what's not growing. And I'm sure Activision is looking at the same things.
They're a business before they're a game studio. Let's just make that clear to people. Anything they do to promote their business and make it more money, they will do, even if it hurts your feelings.
Yeah,
We have about
that people just don't don't understand. They exist to make money, and that's unfortunate, of course, as far as the consumers and the gamers are concerned. But it's true, and it's just something that we have to accept.
Yeah, we only have about 7 minutes, everybody, until the Season 5 update goes live itself, and we're all downloading it. I don't know if you will be streaming it live tonight, TrueGameData. I assume you'll be working on videos. I know you do that while you're live on Twitch sometimes.
Yeah, I probably will do that.
But I wanted to make one last point about Vanguard. People are asking, and this is a very relevant question. It's a good question. What's going to happen to all of the things that we bought? Let's say you bought a blueprint for a Modern Warfare weapon. And all of a sudden, but they've already shown you guys how this is going to work. If you haven't been paying attention, you will have noticed. Modern Warfare used to be the ground loot. It's no longer the ground loot. To have a Modern Warfare gun, you have to get it from a loadout. The next game will do the same thing. Now, I'm not positive that they will directly vault guns. They have mentioned in one of their patch notes before that they have the ability to vault guns and that they will if they see fit. But I haven't seen them do it yet. The only thing I've seen them vault is an attack helicopter with a machine gun 10 times. But they can and they will, and it is in the terms of service you agreed to. They can take away the content you paid money for because it's no longer relevant to their current product.
So I've talked about this a bunch. That's like my theory of the future. They're slowly making these Modern Warfare guns like less and less relevant. Obviously, we see that with the mobility difference between the Cold War guns and the Modern Warfare guns. Cold War guns just have better mobility, especially with how the attachments work. That's the big thing, is the way the attachments work are very much more movement speed based for the Cold War guns than the Modern Warfare guns. If you put a Commando foregrip on your Modern Warfare gun, you're basically like running through mud compared to the Cold War guns. I think they're slowly, purposely trying to phase out the older guns because we can't. I mean, if you think about the future of Warzone, like Goj just said, they're talking about supporting this for five years or more. So it's like, if there's a new Call of Duty game every year, once a year, there's no way you can integrate all these guns and have 300 guns to choose from in 5 years from now. Like, there's no way they're going to do that. And of course they can remove content. It's just like a game. Anytime, Modern Warfare 2 came out, Modern Warfare 1, no longer you use those guns. You have Modern Warfare 2 guns now. So obviously they can do that. People are like, oh, there's no way legally they can take away stuff we bought. Of course they can. It's just like a new game.
And I wanted to make this point as well, is that other games already do this, and there's going to be an extreme uproar if they ever officially announce that they are vaulting or taking away weapons. And I want you guys to know, Fortnite vaults and takes away shit all the time that people spend money on, and nobody bats an eye. Just because it's Call of Duty doesn't mean it's terrible marketing and they're terrible, evil people, okay? Modern Warfare has been out over 2 years now. It's okay if they vault the guns. I'm not going to be mad about it.
Yep. I mean, FIFA does the same thing. I mean, you can talk about any game, right? That has like a lineage of like this game, then this game, then this game, all within the same like storyline or sport or whatever. It's all the same thing. When the new game comes out, new stuff comes out, all the other stuff is obsolete. That's how technology works. That's how everything works.
I think it feels different to people because Warzone's going to be a constant between the games, but really, it's kind of like an extension of their normal Call of Duty games. Like when they bring out a new game, they integrate the guns into Warzone. Because Warzone's going to be there the whole time, people feel like they can't possibly take away those weapons. And it's not fair if they do that. Well, that's just because it's a different kind of game. Normally, Modern Warfare 1 didn't last for 6 years or 7 years. They make a new game and you go get the new game because everybody's playing the new game. Whereas Warzone's going to be a constant throughout everything. And at some point, they're going to have to remove the weapons. And it's unfortunate. I mean, I also want Modern Warfare weapons to be there forever, but it makes sense that can't be the case. So we'll see what they do. It's going to be really interesting to see how they handle that as time goes on.
I'm going to relate this to something else that maybe more gamers and content creators will be able to understand, okay? Let's look at it like this. If your platform you want to grow the most is Twitch, what are you going to do? You're not just going to live on Twitch, right? You're going to go make YouTube. You're going to go make TikTok. You're going to go make content all around the sphere. And where are you going to tell them to go afterwards? Twitch. That's exactly what Call of Duty is doing with both their mobile game that is speculated is getting a battle royale added, that is going to integrate with Warzone as well. They're just trying to make one premier flagship for their entire series that they can market to anybody that wants to work with them. And it's an extremely smart business plan. And there's really no reason to get that upset about it. The one thing that I will say to anybody listening, if they ever take away your Modern Warfare blueprints you bought on Modern Warfare, oh, fucking sue them. But if you still have your weapons on the game that you bought for that game, you're fine. I'm sorry to tell you, but there's no grounds that you have to be upset.
And I think there's also an opportunity where they could do the like a Disney thing. You know, remember when Disney vaulted like all those old classic movies? They're like, we're putting these in a vault. like they could do the same thing here in Warzone. They're like, all right, we're vaulting these weapons. You can't use Modern Warfare weapons anymore. And then they have a content release when they're out of content. Let's bring back the Modern Warfare MP5. You know what I mean? And like people are gonna lose their minds. So that that's an opportunity as well. And you're like, oh, I can use my skin I got in 2019, 2020, or whatever the year was. All
right, everyone. Tonight's podcast has been absolutely wonderful. I want to thank you, Tony, from TrueGameData.com for coming on tonight. We really appreciated your insight, and you actually taught us some things that we didn't know about Warzone. So thank you for coming on, brother.
Absolutely, man. I was honored to be here. It was a blast. I really enjoyed it. So I'd love to come back someday.
We'll definitely bring you back on in the future.
All right, anytime you want me.
Yeah, and we've already talked to J God in the previous episode. J God, we requested him to come on tonight as well as True Game Day. I'm glad we didn't. We didn't have enough time hardly to get through what we needed to talk about, but we would like to do an episode with both of you. And looking forward to the future, I would like to move forward into, we all care about the game. People may say what they want to, but we are passionate about this game. This game is our career in a way, one way, shape, or form or another. We may be trying to branch out with ModernWarzone.com and TrueGameData.com, but we care. And I would one day in the future like to do a round table with creators who are extremely passionate about Warzone and figure out the ways that we can as a community come together and push and send out letters to developers about what we think would revitalize or make their game better. Ghost,
Absolutely.
Anything you'd like to say, brother?
No, I think we kind of hit it all. I mean, we talked a lot about a lot of different topics, and I'm really excited we had Tony on as well. I think to finally wrap this up, we're at 11 o'clock Central Time, which means the update should be out and ready to go. I know Tony's got a lot of work to do tonight. So, Tony, give us a little bit of just a quick little shout out of what you've been working on, what you're doing in the future, where people can find you, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, of course. So most of my time as far as communication with the community is spent on Twitter, obviously. So I have twitter.com/TrueGameData is my main Twitter. I tweet out all the updates and things, so that's where you'll hear about when I get all kinds of things updated on the website. Anytime there's new guns, new attachments, any changes, I tweet out there for all that information, as well as when I put out new videos on YouTube. We're working on some really advanced features for the website that'll hopefully be coming in the next couple months. I've got most of them finished, but there's a lot of stuff that has to go on behind the scenes before we can actually push those live. So we're working really hard on that. Obviously, youtube.com/TrueGameData as well, twitch.tv/TrueGameData live. But it was awesome to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me. And I would, like I said, I'd love to come back some other time.
It's fun,
Heck
man.
yeah.
It's fun. I
really
remember
is
the
fun.
first podcast I did. It's just we don't have the time to sit down and talk with people about this, and we deal with so much negativity or positivity as creators. It's so nice to sit down and just talk with people about the things you have to sit there and think about as we move forward with more content.
Absolutely.
All right, Goj, where can we find you and what are you doing?
Grandmaster Goj on all major socials. I'm nearing 150k on TikTok, which is exciting. I haven't posted in a little while. Whoops. I've been grinding casting opportunities. I am officially a variety caster, so if you enjoy other games besides Warzone, you might see me on the stage in the casting booth of a couple of your favorite games. I casted Apex today, and it was a blast. I enjoyed it a ton, and I'm casting Splitgate on Saturday. So a lot of Warzone tournaments, going to continue to do Warzone tournaments in the future, but also Apex and Splitgate, and hopefully Halo when it comes out as well. YouTube's been popping. We just hit 10,000 subscribers, so go ahead over there and make sure you subscribe to Grandmaster Goj on YouTube. Otherwise, that's pretty much it.
And I am Doug Dagnabbit. I am also known as Modern Warzone. You guys can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/Modern Warzone. I may put up a video once every year. I may put one up once every week. I've got to get better about the content I create and getting myself out there on all platforms. I highly encourage you to check out more episodes of the podcast, especially last week's episode, if you're interested in how an anti-cheat works and why we are excited about it and know that it's real. We went in great detail about that. I look forward to future podcast episodes with guests like Tony. Honestly, this podcast has been one of the coolest things I've done since starting. It's been a lot of fun, and I do look forward to this. As of right now, I am currently spamming check for update on the Warzone menu, and I still have not seen one. Moving forward, what I will be doing is tonight and possibly for like 24 hours plus, I will be streaming Call of Duty Warzone. I do this every single season, so if you guys want to come by after the stream, what I do is I end the stream. That way, if you want to come back and watch the podcast, it's just there. There is no, you have to navigate, it's just here. We do plan to start uploading the videos to YouTube. I'm going to start doing that next week with 2 episodes a day until we get caught up. Anywhere else you can find me, just look up Modern Warzone. The only one that's not us is some guy on Instagram who absolutely copied our shit. So thank you guys to anybody and everybody who came in the chat. Also, one last thing we didn't mention about the update is that it's going to be 13.7 gigs for PlayStation, Xbox Series X, and it's 13.2 gigs for Xbox One, 19.3 gigabytes Warzone only for PC, and 21.7 gigabytes for Modern Warfare and Warzone if you have both those installed. So we're going to go ahead and close this one out, fellas.